What's up, guys? We are joined by none other than Mark Slingshot Bell of SuperTraining.tv, strongest gym in the West, owner of Power Magazine, which is also the only strength magazine out there that is under age 18 that you could buy. Also makes the gangster rap, a lot of products, and he even has a shoe going on that he's been kind enough to send. I feel like we got a bromance.
Reebok Power Shoe.
Say that again.
The Reebok Power Shoe.
The Reebok Power Shoe. I feel like we got a bromance going on, man. This is like our third interview in maybe 2 weeks. When are we, when's it going official, man? I wore this for you today. Come on, man.
I don't know. You keep telling me that these things are going to air, and then you're like, hey, man, we got to do it again. And then I'm getting these phone calls like in the middle of the night and stuff, and these late night texts, and these nipple photos. The nipple photos were just, I was going to post a few, but I was like, these are way too offensive. And then you sent me this thing. I'm like, what is this? A butt plug? I sent it from Kelly Starrett, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man.
He's like,
and it kind of smells a little awkward on one side. I was like, I didn't know what was going on.
It's a mobility device, Mark. Well, I got your 8x10 pinup poster, by the way, in the box that you sent me. So I'm most appreciative of that. Those lonely, cold nights in Canada.
Luckily for you, I shaved more than just my legs in that picture.
Boom. My man, so talking with Mark Bell, dude is cool as shit, extremely knowledgeable powerlifter. We're going to qualify right now by saying, Mark, give the 411 on who Mark Slingshot Bell is. Just break it down for those that don't know.
First of all, I'm not wearing any pants right now.
Neither am I.
But if I was to tell you who I am exactly, I might have to kill you.
Okay.
But I'm a coach, basically, at heart, and I love sharing information with people, and I feel I was put on this planet Earth to share my view on strength and to make the world a better place to lift.
Better place to lift. I like that. You're also a lifter in your own respect. You do, in fact, lift. You're humble. Tell us what your best total is, your numbers in the gym.
The best numbers, see, I did a 1,080 squat. I did an 854 bench press and a 766 deadlift. Those are all multiply powerlifting numbers done in a powerlifting meet.
Right.
Best total is 2630. I also have the American record in the USPF Open 308 weight class, which I'm pretty proud of because the USPF has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
That was in a single ply federation. Now I'm moving on and trying out some raw stuff and trying to figure out what the hell to do with that stuff. So that's where I'm at now. Recently did a 672 squat in training, did 522 bench for a double yesterday. That flew up pretty well, and looking to deadlift over 700, hopefully in the same meet, squat over 700, and just kind of start from there. Just trying to give myself some new challenges.
Get to that 2G total, right? You said you want to cross over 2,000 pounds. Raw.
Right. Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, get upwards in the 20 range, 2050, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So Mark likes it raw right now, so let's go with that. I saw the squat, saw the deadlift, saw the bench press, the video you sent me of the 522, the double that you did. What is this move now in powerlifting towards raw? Going towards from people also newbies. What is this newfangled interest? Why do people want to lift heavy shit, Mark? Because you're one of the dudes that were at the forefront at the start, of this, let's say, right. 2000, around there. You have SuperTraining.tv that's been around for several years, giving information. Right. So you really were at the start and the cusp now, seeking this breakthrough. What's going on?
A big breakthrough with the raw powerlifting is on multiple levels. Number one is the guys that lift raw, a lot of times they look like they lift. Whereas in the past, a lot of the multiply guys were just big, and part of the game actually of powerlifting was just to get fat. You get big, you get bloated, you get fat. And so you have guys like yourself that are in good shape, and many people out there that are trying to follow bodybuilding in the strength world. They weren't relating to some of these athletes. They weren't relating to guys that weighed 330, 340, 350, and guys that just looked unhealthy, and they did these funky little benches and these tiny little bench shirts and stuff like that. And people were confused, and they were misunderstanding, which is totally understandable because it is complicated, complex, and it looks awkward. You see a guy with 800 pounds in a bench press, and it takes him 10 seconds to lower the weight. The shirt seems like it's supporting a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so the raw movement actually has been great for powerlifting, I think. I think you can attribute CrossFit to a little bit of the movement
Right.
because you're seeing, more people that are just lifting without any powerlifting gear at all. A lot
Right.
of times people are lifting with no knee wraps, no wrist wraps,
Yep.
no nothing because they're doing the framework of a CrossFit gym or in the framework of a WOD
Yep.
or something along those lines. And so I think the raw powerlifting movement, a lot of it started with guys that look like they lift, guys that look good
Right.
and lift heavy shit. And one of the cream of the crop when it comes to that would be Stan Efferding. And
Right.
I feel that Stan Efferding was at the forefront of that. We documented all that at Super Training Gym. He was training with us. And I think that was a big movement. And people said, you know what, man, like that dude's big, he's
Yeah.
jacked, he's tan, he's vascular,
Yeah.
and he's strong as a motherfucker. I mean, the guy did a 2,300 plus pound total
Yeah.
raw, weighing 275. So I think that has been a huge part of the raw powerlifting movement.
Well, you need, Mark. Let's comment on that a little bit. Bodybuilding kind of in the 70s had Arnold, where you have this figure that people could follow and maybe idolize or want to become. And in powerlifting, you're saying recently Stan Efferding, maybe Dan Green now, where, you're
Yeah.
not just lifting heavy shit, you also look like it. You yourself, can you comment a little bit? Because those that don't know, first of all, Mark,
I was chubby.
he had a couple extra pounds in 11, right? And you got jacked in 10. You always were jacked, but you got 10 now. You're hella lean. You got biceps popping. Like, how big are the arms? Like 19. It's something crazy going on. You made a transformation where you lost a lot of weight. I was there on your channel creeping you out for the last several years, and the comments went from like, oh, 700-pound deadlift. Fuck you, you're fat. To, holy shit, he's ripped. How did he
Right,
tell the same guy, the same guy?
right,
So can you
right.
comment a little bit, Mark, on the road to being jacked and tan and what it has done to you and how people maybe perceive you?
It's not enough just to lift the part. You got to look the part. That's
Right.
a big part of the fitness game. And as you know, like with try to acquire more listeners and trying to get out to more people, it's a
Yeah.
big part of it. Is like, I mean, you started how many years ago? 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, yeah, taking it seriously, yeah.
Yeah, taking it seriously about 3 years ago. I'm sure you looked a lot differently. And
100%.
as you built up more muscle and built more muscle mass, you kind of gain more fans because now people are like, and then when you go from deadlifting 450 to 565,
Yeah.
that's a big change too. 565 isn't like earth shattering, but it's awesome for
Yeah.
a guy that weighs 181. It's inspiring a lot of other people, and I
Right.
think that is really the real message is that when you are not only look good and you lift big, I think it becomes more inspiring to people. I think people just kind of write it off when you're real heavy. They're
Right.
just, well, that guy weighs like fucking 400 pounds. Of course he's going to be able to bench 500.
That's what they say.
You know.
If I weighed, Mark, if I weighed 400, I read actually a comment like that. If I weighed 308, I bet I could bench 550 like Mark II or like something like
Well, what about, you hear that a lot with, remember like in high school, there was always the real tall kid in high school and somebody's like, hey man, if I was your height, I'd be in the NBA.
that. Yeah.
It's like,
Okay. Okay, then.
like, yeah, it's like, dude, there's so many other skills that are involved in being able to play pro basketball other than just being tall.
Well,
But people just they kind of think that way, and that's just the way people's mind is wired.
sometimes they want to find a fault if they want to be a hater. If they're drinking that dare haterade, they want to find some sort of fault to attribute towards you. It's like, I would do that if I was blank. And they come up with excuses rather than just doing it. And as one time you said famously, fuck your elbow if you're trying to find excuses. You know what I mean? There it is, right there. So
Protect yourself before you wreck yourself.
let's talk a little bit then about actual powerlifting. What, Mark, would you say is probably the lift maybe you're most known for or most impressive? And let's talk a little bit about that. What has helped you out with that lift? So you go ahead, man.
Yeah, for myself, I would say the bench press has been the lift that I get the most attention for.
Yeah.
Lift I'm the most proud of though is more the squat because I've never really considered myself to be anything in the squat, and I was able to do 1,080 squat and
Yeah.
more recently a 672 raw, which still is not world record breaking by any means. There's guys doing 200-300 pounds more than that, but yeah, really the bench press has been something I've gained a lot of attention for. And
Right.
actually, I personally feel that I know a lot more about the bench press. I know a lot more of the ins and outs of the bench press
Yeah.
than most people. And what I've been preaching lately is trying to learn the proper sensations of a lift. I think is crucial. If you think about, going back to basketball, think about like a NBA player shooting free throws. They'll spin the ball a couple times, they'll dribble it a couple times, and they shoot.
Yeah.
And some of these real high end guys that hit 95% of their free throws, they've been asked why do they do that, and the reason that they give is they say that they're trying to feel the weight of the ball.
Right.
Basically, my message to people is you need to find the weight of the ball when you're lifting.
Right.
You need to find a routine that you get comfortable with, no matter what gym you're at, no matter what bar you have, whether you have chalk, you don't have chalk, you have your favorite lifting gloves or not your favorite lifting gloves or favorite belt or whatever the situation is you need to be able to adapt because you want to be strong all around. You don't want to just be strong,
In a
on
situation.
certain.
When
Yeah,
when your favorite song's on, when Miley Cyrus is playing, and you got your belt on
yeah.
at the PR, you got to be able to replicate it.
Or you're coming in like a wrecking ball.
I came like a wrecking ball, man.
I could actually picture you coming in like a wrecking ball, like on a like a
Is this one?
table of some sort,
Okay, good. Okay.
maybe in the Power Rangers setup.
Not well, Mark. Don't be careful what you wish for, big guy, because I'm just saying when I come down to California, I know you've been fantasizing about a couple things. Silent Mike and I have been talking. So let's talk about this right here. Let's talk about that there bench press. You said something to me in the prior interview that made
Hey, I got a question for you. Do you know anything about cock ornaments?
cock ornament. Well, we after people saw that Instagram post of myself deadlifting, oh, cock ornament. I get it. Da-da-da. I thought I thought we were going to talk about that Instagram video.
This is more than just a regular cock table setting
Uh-oh.
that most people would have. This is a cock.
Wow. That's a very Mark Bell thing right there.
Who knows what the hell's going on here? My
Mark,
friend actually bought that for my wife.
what does that mean, Mark?
He bought her some cock.
Wow.
We've
Me,
been married for 13 years, so I think she needs to get it wherever she can.
this one, Mark, man. So tell me this.
Anyway,
Tell me about the bench press. We spoke before about that setup where you almost, I think you described it as maybe being a ritual. You also talked about in a recent video. I'm going to link it in the description. The lat, engaging your lats, but the specific cues of mastery when it comes to lifting. So let's talk a little bit about that. And we can't forget. I want to talk about also the slingshot, which is what you're wearing here. What you're
woo!
known for. A lot of people have been using this. Sales are pretty much skyrocketing. Mark, what he doesn't want you to know is a multi-millionaire right here. This is one of several homes he's currently in. Due to the slingshot, what it does,
That there slingshot.
what people have been talking about, what it does. So tell me a little bit about these tips. Tell me what made you in the first place as a powerlifter try and design this slingshot. What's its function? Get into the bench, my man. Go dive in.
All right, well, let me break this up a little bit. I'll start out by talking about the slingshot, and then we'll talk about the dynamics of the bench press and the lats and stuff.
Yeah.
The slingshot is a protective upper body device, allows you to bench press more weight. You can do more weight, more reps, more sets, more overall volume without the pain. As you go to come down in the bench press, the eccentric portion of the bench press, the slingshot is almost providing you with like double muscle is what I call it. It's providing you some assistance. It's some gradual assistance on the way down. The further you go down, the more the material stretches, and the material actually acts like your muscles. It'll stretch as you're doing the eccentric portion of the lift, and it will contract as you're doing the concentric portion.
Right.
It'll go right along with the chest and pecs and triceps and everything else that's going on when you're doing a bench press. The main advantage of the slingshot is that when you're at the bottom of a bench press, you kind of think about this. The body is designed to throw. The body is designed, to throw things, punch. We're designed to protect ourselves. We're designed to run and do all these different things. We're not necessarily designed to have our arms pinned back behind our midline with our shoulder, pinned way back in this position here with large amounts of weight in our
Right.
hand. We're not really designed to do that. But we can do that, and so people do it. But the bottom portion of a bench press, make no mistake about it, is one of the most dangerous things that you can do in the gym.
Keep talking about
And
it. Keep going, man.
and there's a lot of A lot of people, will say, "Oh, only go halfway down the bench press because that bottom part of the bench press can be dangerous." I'm not going to say that it's like the worst thing in the world, but it is a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Right.
Guys with longer arms, guys with the shoulder slope thing going on. I mean, I can pick people out of a crowd and pick out people that have had shoulder injuries because I've seen it so many times.
Their posture and so forth, Mark, you mean?
Yeah, they usually don't have the thickness, and maybe they were trying to overdevelop the front of their body. They never took the time to develop the back of their body, their lats, and they never really got into this Zen position of being real neutral.
Right.
So their bodies are forward. Then they go to bench press, and the shoulders just can't handle that bottom position of the bench press. But the slingshot assists you through the least advantageous position of the bench press, which is that bottom portion of the bench press. As you go to come back up, you're handling all the weight yourself, and so therefore it's still highly effective towards even when you take off the slingshot. Works for push-ups, and it works for dips as well. Another advantage of it is that it helps you with your form. Now we can kind of get into the lat topic
Yeah,
now.
go right in.
The slingshot is going to actually help kind of pull your elbows into your body. Some people have a misconception of that because they're not really built to tuck their elbows properly. They are not large enough individuals,
Right.
and when they tuck their elbow, it's hard for me to even demonstrate, but their elbow's way inside
Yeah.
where their wrist is, and that's
Gotcha.
referred to as the gay pterodactyl position, where people have the gay wrist going, and then they have their elbows way inside, and they got this funky little thing going here. You want to avoid the gay pterodactyl.
Gay pterodactyls are not cool.
So if you're one of those people that can overtuck, or you have long arms and you're sinewy,
Right.
and you're not thick and massive, you want to just have your elbow kind of fall in line with where your wrist is. The wrist, your fist, the barbell, and your elbow should all be in alignment with each other when you're doing a bench press.
Right.
And the slingshot, what it's going to do is kind of gently pull your elbows in. And what you want to do is you want to actually push against the slingshot a little bit at the bottom and then press the weight up violently. And that's going to give you the best benefit because it's going to kind of draw your elbows in just slightly.
Right.
If your elbows are up here in a bench press, now this is a topic that people overdo a little bit, I think. They get a little too crazy. The truth is, when your elbows are up here in a bench press, this isn't necessarily wrong.
Okay.
It's just not the most optimal way. It's also you can still bench press like this. I would say as more of an assistance movement.
Okay.
But the rotation on your shoulder when your shoulder is exposed this much is not healthy for your shoulder.
That's what I
So
love.
what you instead want to do is you want to have your forearm. Hopefully you're jacked enough,
Yeah.
or over the years you can make yourself jacked enough, as I have done. You have your forearm fall onto your bicep, and you have your tricep fall onto your lat. So
Right.
it's going to kind of look like this. And when you get to here, you're going to start to pull everything in, pull your chest up. Chest up on all three lifts, by the way, bench, squat, deadlift. Your
Yeah.
chest always needs to be up.
This is a clinic right
And
here,
there
man.
you're going to kind of launch the weight back up. And the idea of the lats being involved would be from the bottom here, is you're going to try to press out and throw the lat out as you're coming upward
Right.
and flex the pecs as well.
It's all these, Mark. That's what's so cool about your channel, and obviously it's going to be linked in the description for people to check out. Is the subtle details of years of experience lifting, breaking important cues down in simple,
Right.
easy to understand ways. Like the last video, I think, is it on Jim McDonald's channel? Or is it on Super Training?
Almost everything's on supertraining.tv.
Yeah.
There's the two different YouTube channels, Jim McGee 123, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then there's YouTube /supertraining06, which is mine. You should subscribe to both, but if you don't have time to really bounce around to both, just check out supertraining.tv. There's tons of information there. .tv.
That too. Thank you. I remember last time when we did the interview, I said, "Yeah, man, what's your website or what's your channel?" You're like supertraining.tv. I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 what?" It's that TV. Well,
There we go. I get it right.
tell me, man, because a lot of we'll talk about the other stuff in a while, like the hip circle. Is how has your lifting now changed? Those that might be aware of a man by the name of Kelly Starrett, the supple leopard himself. I've noticed the technique you do form breakdowns on your channel where you'll take
Right.
either top powerlifters or it could be fan submitted where you'll be like, this is what's shit, this is what's great, either if they're an elite lifter or if they're a novice. How,
Right.
if at all, I noticed your form has changed, but let's say working with Starrett, you told me about your deadlift. Can you comment a little bit about that? Moving towards, I guess, keeping the body safe. It seems the vast majority of the stuff that you offer, like the hip circle and whatnot, they're to help facilitate a long lifting career, to lift correctly and
Right.
safely. Right?
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
as someone that's lifted for a long time. Because I'm not going to name names, Mark, but we all know the story of the powerlifting dude that has like what, two torn biceps, a torn Achilles tendon, a pec minor and major injury, not to mention the meniscus blew out suddenly, right? So it is a sport that
Right.
if done incorrectly can lead to serious injury, which is why that's the prime focus of a lot of the products. You're now working with Kelly Starrett, or have been for a while. Can you
Yeah.
comment a little bit on K-Star, K-Top?
Yeah, he's been Kelly Starrett has been amazing. First of all, he's one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. Every time I'm around him, he's just one of those people that gets you fired up. One of those people that's going to help elevate your game. So if you ever have a chance to go see him in a seminar setting or go to his gym, San Francisco CrossFit, he is an amazing person. It's hard to get to see him because he's spread so thin on different things, but
Yeah,
he understands human movement. And I think that that's the key element to realize is he's not a powerlifter.
yeah,
He's not necessarily a strength athlete, but he's going to be able to help almost anybody perform better because he has a great understanding of human movement. And now, there are things change very often in sports, whether it's swimming, running, or lifting. Doesn't really matter what it is. Things change quickly, and there's athletes that are so good and that are sometimes built certain ways. Like look at like Bones Jones, and look at you got Anderson Silva. I know he's lost recently and stuff, but you got guys that are built like that. Who would ever thought that that would be the model type of body
a fighter.
for a fighter? Like it
Anderson
doesn't.
Silva,
I
especially.
know Bones. I know Bones is like tall,
Yeah,
but Anderson, he doesn't really look like. If you put me next to Anderson,
who's
I
gonna
mean
win?
Anderson Silva would fucking annihilate my ass, right? But if you put us next to each other 10 years ago, put us next to each other and say, oh, who would win in a fight? You'd be like, oh, the big guy. The big guy is probably the guy with 20-inch arms is going to kick his ass.
Exactly.
So sometimes you run into people that have these such different body types that allows them to be great, and sometimes they break a new mold and they kind of make a whole new set of rules.
Right.
But in general, what you're trying to do is you're trying to look at the masses and you're trying to make things work for many people. And so sometimes when somebody puts up a video on YouTube, on the YouTubes, they'll get criticized for some of the things they say. And it's like, well, this guy is trying to speak to many. He's
Yeah.
not trying just to speak to one.
Yeah.
A great example of that is the guy that wrote the book Starting Strength. I saw a video that he did,
Okay.
Mark Ripito.
Yeah.
I saw a few videos that he did talking about head positioning on a squat.
Right.
And he talked about back positioning, and he talks about like using your lower back on a squat.
Yeah.
A lot of people flipped out. A lot of people are like, that's stupid. Why would you ever do that? Why would you want to turn your squat into a good morning?
Exactly.
Well, what he was trying to do was actually pretty smart because he knows most people move like crap.
Yeah.
So he's trying just to throw out like a blanket way of squatting, which I think is in some ways a little irresponsible. I think you do have to explain like, hey, this
Yeah.
may not be for everyone. Some people may be able to squat straight up and down with really good form
Yeah.
and not have to resort to what I'm about to refer to. But his type of squatting style works for people that have really limited range of motion,
Right.
and it can work really well for them. So a lot of times these coaches are trying to make things work for many.
The most applicable it could be to the most amount of people when they give these cues or technique tips.
Right, and what's helped me a lot with Kelly is helped me to identify what's wrong in different body types,
Right.
what's wrong with different people in different positions and in different situations, and that has been really amazing with my coaching. It's really helped me a ton. There was a couple things that I didn't really realize, in the squat that I was kind of coming to some conclusions on my own, but I couldn't
Yeah.
articulate them. I'm not a fucking doctor. Couldn't figure out some of the wording and so when he started mentioning, these braced neutral positions, and he
Yeah.
started mentioning like basically if you're trying to maintain a position that's unrealistic for your body type,
Yeah.
you're going to end up in a worse position than you would if you just try to stay in a little bit more reasonable position for yourself. So
Yeah.
an example of that would be like arching in a deadlift.
Yeah.
Some people can like arch. Some people can just squat right down to the barbell and be in perfect position. If you kind of picture like an Olympic lifter setting up for like a snatch,
Yeah.
and they can use a ton of leg drive in a deadlift. They can almost kind of squat up their deadlifts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say for probably 80% of the people that I run into, they can't do that. They got to kind of sit back into their deadlifts a little bit more with a much higher hip position. So you're going to run into a lot of different things. Head positioning was huge for me in the squat. It took me from a 954 squat to 1,080.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out how to stay arched up in the squat. So I was trying to arch and arch and arch, and I was trying to stick my head up.
Yeah.
And every time I do that, I'd go like that. I'd come up out of the bottom of the squat, and it looked like I was fucking thrown up in a toilet. I'd go every time. And so then it was like, okay, well, let's figure out what's something that's a little bit more ideal for me. I can't do this, and I can't really arch up real well. So then I had my head down, my eye line down a little bit more, and I'd kind of stay in here, and I just kind of shift my head. I try to push my traps into the bar as I'm getting to the hole, and that has been really effective for me.
Well, Mark, that's the whole idea where you're saying about tips for the individual, what works for you. We talked also about the bench press. Let's talk a little bit then about getting into powerlifting for all these newbies, intermediate lifters that are looking to get into advice you would give because you have now a wealth of experience coaching people, seeing people get
Right.
into this. Let's talk about this, and then let's also talk about some of the stuff like the hip circle,
Right.
the gang strength, what these are, and maybe if and when they can help individuals.
Right. I think one of the most important things for people to do is to try to compete. It's pretty simple concept. Try to surround yourself with people that are like-minded or people that are better than you.
That's
In your in your gym, if you went to a regular commercial gym and you lifted 565, people go, "Oh my God, like that guy was crazy, like he fucking used chalk and like his shin was bleeding, and he deadlifted 565. I saw a nipple like 4 times, and then the barbell hit him in the dick at the top of the lift."
and seeing his big day, I'm like, what's going? Well, it's like so, Mark. That's in a big commercial gym. That's wow.
But in your gym, you have Jeremy Hamilton, who's a world-class powerlifter.
Yeah,
He could take that 565 and do it for like 12 reps or something, probably, and shrug it at the top, and then throw it on his back and squat it a couple times. Yeah,
do a whole bunch of reverse curls with it.
but you got a couple guys in there that are doing well. You got your other buddy deadlifting 705 or 700.
Exactly.
So that's
the owners.
a big thing. You surround yourself with great people.
So you're saying for getting into powerlifting, surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable, passionate, maybe also better than you. Can you keep going along that line about those getting into powerlifting, trying to get more knowledge? Obviously, you would say, check out your channel. No shit.
Right. I had somebody comment on the 520 bench that I just posted up. I smoked the weight pretty good. It looked like I could have probably done about 3 reps with it. And somebody said, hey, I'm kind of comparing you to Spoto and Stan Efferding. Eric Spoto, the 722 raw bencher, one of the best bench pressers probably that ever lived.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were kind of comparing me to those two guys because those are people that I share with other people on my website. And those are people that have been in my gym before. And again, to me, that makes me proud as a coach that I have kind of worked with these people.
Yeah.
Eric Spoto, I didn't work with that much, but Stan Efferding, I worked with a lot. I helped him get to a 606 raw bench press done in a full power meet.
Yeah.
And in my gym, my 1,080 squat, my 854 bench, and my 766 deadlift, none of those lifts are the heaviest lifts ever done at super training.
Right.
I have, and I'm really proud of that as a coach to have kind of helped and assist people to help make them better. You can't be jealous in this game. If you're going to be jealous and you're in the fitness industry, you're going to have a really, really hard time making any sort of progress. And that's just even from a business standpoint, even from the things that you're doing. And I like what you're doing because
Thank you.
you're reaching out to you're like, oh man, that guy's got more subscribers, that guy's got more, but you're not like, oh, that guy's an idiot or that guy's an asshole.
Yeah,
You're like, well, let me kind of like partner up with that guy. Let me share ideas with him, and he'll share ideas with me, and it's all like a revolving door of everybody kind of sharing
yeah,
information. And you have your niche. You're great at some things, and
yeah,
then someone over here is great at some things. You don't have to you don't want to get too caught up in that. I think a great quote, words to live by that my dad has told me before is, part of knowing who you are is knowing who you are not. And you
right,
can say, Omar, you can just say it right now to all your fans. You say, I'm Omar, but I'm not Mark Bell.
exactly. Fellas, Jack TV.
You're not Silent Mike, You'll never be Silent Mike. You got to come to that reality. You'll never be, never going to be Silent Mike.
I didn't know if I wanted to be Silent Mike. I'm more with Myron Mark Bell, I'm like, I want that bench press, okay? I want to be that jacked and tan. I need to see
That's right.
what's up, what's up. But you're saying, Mark, let's touch on that about powerlifting. What was unique to me, seeing Jeremy compete and what he said and what you said, and many people have echoed, is how selfless it is. A lot of ways, meaning that while you compete, it is not selfish where you're trying to bring someone else down. You're
Right.
trying to lift as much as you can, and you're
Right.
trying to support the other person.
Yeah, exactly. You're in powerlifting's one of the greatest examples, or any sort of weightlifting, really, because it's you against the weight.
Yeah,
It's not a team sport really by any means. It's you versus the weight, and you're going to have to always accept the fact that there's always going to be someone stronger.
yeah,
You always hear that there's always going to be somebody better, and it sucks. It's like the shittiest quote ever, because you don't want anyone to be better, because we're all competitive and you want to try to be the best you can in that particular area. But I remember years ago talking to Ed Cohn, the greatest power lifter of all time. I
yeah,
was talking to him, interviewing him for my magazine Power. And I said, I want to really thank you, for the opportunity to interview you. I consider you the greatest powerlifter of all time. And I said I had to come to grips years ago that I was not going to be the next Ed Cohn. And he just kind of said, well, that's okay. You're just the next Mark Bell. He's like, you're doing great things. You have your own magazine. He's
yeah.
like, I never had my own magazine. So you gotta, not to be like too corny, but you gotta focus in on some of the positive things that you have going on, and not really worry too much about some of the other shit
You're
other people
getting
have going on.
so mushy right there, man. This is the Zen of Mark Bell. Like, we need to bring it down right here. We gotta talk about boobs
The
right now.
weepy side, weepy side.
So
Let's talk about football or something.
let's
All
talk
right,
about
let's get
football. Let's talk about Jack.
back.
Let's talk about some of the stuff here. The rest of the stuff that you were kind enough to send me, along with that 8x10 about with you.
You better start wrapping yourself up, kid. You're not gonna be young for long. You got to mummify.
I'm gonna.
You
Oh,
got to mummify. You got to throw on an elbow sleeve. You got to throw on a slingshot just to get out of bed.
let's talk about some of the other stuff quickly that you offer that a lot of people are using, like the elbow sleeve and the gangster wrap. Who and when to use some of those? Why? Basically all the devices can be attributed towards trying to have a long, healthy lifting career. So
Right.
talk a little bit about that.
Well, referencing Kelly Starrett again, he's got a great quote where he says, "Upstream, downstream." So whenever you have an injury, you want to look both up. Like if you have a wrist problem, you want to look, up here, and maybe even have something wrong with your hand, or maybe you got something wrong with your forearm, or maybe even something wrong with your elbow, or maybe it's all the way even into your shoulder.
Right.
So same thing with the elbow. If you have you have a really bad elbow problem, might be something going on with your wrist, might be something going on with your shoulder. Obviously, there could be an issue with the elbow itself. But basically, if you wear wrist wraps, this might sound ridiculous, but if you wear wrist wraps, it's going to help protect your entire arm.
Yeah.
It's not going to just help protect your wrist. It's going to help protect your entire arm. When you start to go heavier, it's going to start to help to protect your elbow. It's going to start to help to protect even up all the way into your shoulder. You can think about something like hitting a heavy bag, punching a heavy bag. Yeah, you can punch a heavy bag, without any wraps on or without any gloves on. It's going to start to hurt your hands after a while.
Yeah.
That'll be the first thing that you notice. But after a while, you're going to start to notice that your fucking wrist hurts, your elbow's going to hurt, and your shoulder's going to hurt from that continued pounding. And the only way to be good at lifting is to do it often and
Yeah.
to do it for a very, very long time. And the only way you can do it for a long time, the only way you can be good at it is to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I always say you got to check yourself before you
Or
wreck
you
yourself
wreck yourself. Yeah.
because you're going to have to take just a little bit of precaution. And it doesn't always mean that you have to throw a slingshot on. It doesn't always mean that you have to have a wrap on. But you do have to take care of your body. It could be getting a little extra sleep. It
Yeah.
could be some sort of warm-up routine or stretching routine that you like to do before or after a workout. Could be hydration, making sure you get enough water in. It could be any of that stuff. But as you lift for a long period of time, each one of those pieces of the puzzle become more and more important.
Right.
Adding in something like wrist wraps, I would suggest that you start to you start to look into that. As you maybe towards the end of your sets, your workout sets. So whatever your strength level is, you're never too new to look into a pair of wrist wraps. I think they could really benefit anybody, whether you're doing like push-ups, dumbbells, any of that stuff. Now you don't want to like walk around like a mummy all day long and be like Hulk Hogan wearing the weightlifting belt to the beach and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But you do want to be protected as you go heavier. So I would say wrist wraps would be good to throw on around 70%. A lifting belt would be good to throw on around 70% of your max. And a slingshot, normally the way I usually recommend a slingshot is for people just to put it on after they do their normal workout. Because I'm not here to try to change people's already fucked up training methods. That's another topic for another day. It's too big to tackle. But people can train whatever way they'd like, and then when they're done with that, whatever their protocol was for the day, maybe they did 3 sets of 5, maybe they followed Jim Wendler's 5-3-1 program, maybe they're doing a cube, or whatever it is they're doing. After you're done with your raw training, then you throw the slingshot on, and you go a little bit heavier. You can also go back down and do some repetitions. So just as an example, if you're doing 5-3-1, and it's a week where you're doing a triple, and you do a bench press, and you do a triple with 250, you could throw the slingshot on and do 270 for 3,
Yeah.
probably like 290 for 3. You can also go back down to 250 and do like 3 sets of 6 or something, or 3 sets of 8. So you're going to get sets and volume that you've were never able to get into before. With with these wrist wraps, all the wrist wraps I sell, these are multi-purpose wraps, and so you can take this particular wrap right here,
Knee
and
wrap.
you can put it anywhere. Yeah, you could turn this thing into a knee wrap. You can put it through here, like yay, and you can put it on your elbow. Ted Arcidi was the first guy to ever bench press 700 pounds. And Ted Arcidi used to do a lot of elbow extensions, but he would wrap his elbows. You don't even need to necessarily buy this, but you should wrap yourself with something. You use
Right.
a fucking ace bandage. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
You can go to your local drugstore and buy an ace bandage for $5. But if you take a couple seconds to wrap yourself up a little bit, you see Dmitry Klokov do it all the time. He wraps his knees. Everyone knows who that guy is. He wraps his knees before his training session ever starts.
Yeah.
He wraps the lower part of his knee and the upper part of his knee before he even gets into his training sets, because he's just trying to protect himself. He's trying to allow himself to handle a little bit more weight. So if you were to do something like this, wrap your elbow up for some tricep extensions, you're just going to be able to handle more weight. The more weight that you're going to be able to handle, the stronger you're going to be, even when you take this off.
Especially when your goal is powerlifting. That's something I want to touch upon, Mark. When you said about you're naming all these world class guys, you're going to name quickly some of the people that use the gangster raps in competition. But what some newbie guys might say, where they see that as like, oh, using all this equipment, doesn't count. I want to be, all natural, not use any of this stuff. What you quickly discover, the more weight you lift, is your body will start breaking down. One, if your form is incorrect. Two, if you're not taking care of yourself. Three, if you're not
Right.
using the right precautions. So there's a huge gap a lot of times you'll see between when someone starts lifting and some of these world class guys handling obscene weights where they all
Right.
like just list Mark for us as an example. Who are some of the top powerlifters that use some of that stuff, like the gangster wraps, those wrist wraps?
Right. I also want to share with people too, though, that I want to make sure the message is very clear. You don't need anything fancy to make yourself stronger.
Yeah.
You can lift in your basement. You can watch YouTube, and there's a lot of things that you can learn. You don't need anything fancy. A barbell is a great place to start. You don't need a wrist wrap. You don't need a slingshot. You don't need to mummify yourself with all these different products, but they're just there for you when you do need them, and
Tools.
you're better off utilizing them earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
Um, Also, a good rap that I have, I'm coming out with soon, is had Katie Hogan, a
Right.
elite level CrossFitter, help me design this one. And this is actually made out of neoprene. So if somebody who's looking for something that's a little bit less restrictive,
Yep.
this would be a good option. To answer your question, the gangster wraps,
Yeah.
we had Eric Lillibridge wear the gangster wraps and the Lillibridge world record knee wraps for his recent 23:53 total, which he was paid from howmuchybench.net
Yeah. A
a
dollar per.
dollar per pound for his efforts, which is unprecedented in the sport. No one gets paid shit.
Well, that's
When
a.
you hear
Can you get
when
into
you
that? I know
hear that someone's sponsored in this sport,
it ain't
uh,
much, man. We'll talk if Mark, if you got time, I want to also that's another thing I want to talk about is it's love of the game for all these guys. Where, for instance, an example is Jeremy Hamilton, my buddy, where he's the second at 220, no
right?
reps, right? Who pays for his flight to go down of all time in North America? He does, right? He puts it
Right.
up. The money's not there. So sorry, go on. You're listening to Wrist Raps, and maybe you're going to talk about powerlifting and money.
I will. Yep. We also had Eric Spoto wore the gangster wraps for his 722-pound world record bench, biggest bench press of all time. Stan Efferding has also worn the gangster wraps for a 606 bench press. There's a lot of lifters right now. Kevin Oak is a big name in powerlifting right now in the 220 class, I believe, maybe 242. It's pretty jacked, hard to say. But he's a big fan of the elbow sleeves. He wears the elbow sleeves even for deadlifts and stuff. And again, it's just precautionary. It's not like his elbows are, if he doesn't wear it, they're going to rip out a socket
I'm
when
gonna
he.
sue Mark. I'm gonna sue you if when I wear my elbow sleeve I can't pull 600 pounds. I'm telling you this. If it doesn't increase my bench press or my deadlift by 35 pounds the first time I wear it, I'm suing you.
Well, an interesting thing about these little suckers is that, and first of all, you don't want them to be too tight. Everyone wants to order them too tight. They look at the size chart and they go a size down
Yeah, yeah,
rather than going a size up. They don't need to be tight to work because like this one's actually a little bit big. You can
yeah,
slide it on fairly easy. You get a little bit of compression, but when I bring my elbow back, it's going to grab more
yeah, yeah.
because your arm becomes larger. So if you're in a squat position and you got your arm back, it's going to help protect the elbow, which everyone gets pain right there, right? Who doesn't get that little sucker right there? But anyway, there's a lot of people wearing the wraps. You had Brandon Lilly is somebody who's done some pretty big things in my knee wraps. When he got injured, he wasn't wearing knee wraps; he was wearing a knee sleeve.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there's a lot of other lifters. But what I'm trying to do, Derek Kendall's another guy. The whole entire Lillibridge family. Ernie Lillibridge Sr. did an 815 squat.
Yeah.
Recently, he's like in his mid 40s. You got Ernie Lillibridge Jr. He did a 733 squat at 220, and he put up a big total. 1951 he did raw.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people just doing a lot of great things in my wraps. But what I'm trying to do is associate myself with some not just great lifters, but people that are great in the community and people that are good for not just powerlifting, but are good for
Yep.
fitness and strength in general.
Right.
And what I'm trying to do from there is to give back to them and give support to them. More than just hey, here's $50 or something like that. I'm trying to really, I'm not a multimillionaire yet,
Yeah.
but things are certainly heading in that direction thanks to the support of everyone who's buying Slingshot and stuff. We
Yeah.
are having a hell of a time keeping these suckers in stock. It's a good problem to have. But yeah, I'm trying to do some things that have really never been done before in the sport. Even the 23 $100 that I sent out to Eric Lillibridge. That is a drop in the bucket, really,
Yeah.
for really what I think it's actually worth.
100.
You
I know
know,
what you mean.
in my mind, someone sets an all-time world record and they have a body of work. I mean, he's a young guy, but he
Yeah.
has a body of work of 10 years of training his fucking ass off. If you work 10 years in a field and you become the best in your field, you're going to make more than $2,300. You
And
know,
powerlifting needs that. Just two quick points I want you to mention is when you say giving back, the idea that what people may not know is your gym is free. Anyone can train there. And the second part, can you just talk about to give a little contrast where people might say, "Oh, $2,300 doesn't sound bad." how much do powerlifters make at meets, and talk about your gym.
Right. Yeah. So in powerlifting, people don't make really any money. I'm trying to think of, let's see, I've been powerlifting for 25 years,
Yeah.
and I made $1,000. I won the Fit Expo in like 2009. I won
Yeah.
$1,000 for that.
After 20 years of competing.
And I did something else. Can't remember, a bench contest or something. I won like $500. So
$1,500 in a 25-year career.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not really that much.
No, you can't really. That's
barely
unheard of. You need a
barely get
lot
a
of
cup of
flex shows.
coffee.
Mark, you're gonna need a lot of flex shows to pay for stuff if you're only getting paid $1,500. Gives it.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of money in the sport. Even for guys that are winning left and right, there's basically no money in the sport.
Yeah.
Also, something people should know too is like there's not really a lot of money in bodybuilding either.
No.
It's not really a lot of money in any of this unless you're really proactive with yourself and you're going to self-promote and you're going to try to turn everything into something else. So sometimes you end up seeing a lot of people, become kind of haters of this or that because you're like, you're selling T-shirts or you're
Yeah.
selling a Slingshot, and it's like, dude, it's like I'm trying to give back as much as I possibly can. I'm trying to make as many things for free as I possibly can. The only way to do that is to subsidize it with something else.
Exactly.
And so
In
the
a way that you come
Slingshot.
with.
Yeah, right. The Slingshot has been amazing for me. It's been amazing for my team out here in Sacramento, California, at Super Training Gym. And so as of sometime last year, I made Super Training Gym free.
Yeah.
Anyone
It's awesome.
is more than welcome to come visit me.
Hitchhiking.
Yeah, there you go.
See you in a year approximately, unless I
Yeah, beat up one of those fucking Mounties or whatever, and fucking hop on one of those
ride the horse.
horses, and fucking go, fucking hop over Niagara Falls and get your ass out here, or wherever the fuck you are in Canada.
Somewhere up north where the maple syrup grows from trees, man. Well, so Mark, let's bring it on in then with the final thing I want to mention because you were kind enough to send this stuff, and that's the thing that's cool with Mark. There's like nothing asked, like, hey, I'm gonna send you this stuff. Can you talk about it? Just we shot the shit, and I said
Yeah.
I like those shoes. He says, what size are you? Boom, it was just in passing. Let's talk
Oh,
a
bam.
little bit about the final. It's a bromance, man. Let's talk a little bit the final about the new powerlifting shoes you got. That was a horrible angle. Hold on. Ugh, I have no flexibility.
Whoa, nipple, 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 nipple,
Shot.
nipple, nipple. I saw some nipplage.
This is gonna get the
Whoa,
weight gain
here, can you
question.
get mine out?
You
Whoa, I'm kind
can't
of
leave it
hairy.
there.
Look at that.
Where is it?
I didn't man groom. I need a
Oh
man.
no. Don't worry, the
Yeah.
video quality is not that high, so it's like probably not anything. So last thing, let's talk about Starrett is wearing it, and if he wears it, you're guaranteed to sell 1 million shoes. Talk a little bit about the Reebok shoe.
Yeah, you know what?
Why is it better than a Chuck Taylor?
The Reebok powerlifting shoe is officially called, and I don't know why it's called this, but it's called the Reebok CrossFit Light TR. I have no idea. The powers that be sometimes aren't as powerful as you'd think. Anyway.
It would not be called that if Mark Bell had exclusive control over it.
Yeah, that's correct. But yeah, the powerlifting shoe has been great. It's something that Jesse Burdick and myself have helped Reebok develop and design. It grips the floor a lot better than any other shoe out there. There's also different types of shoes. We made a leather one.
Yeah.
Maybe out of canvas, maybe out of polyester, and that way we just thought the individuals can kind of decide, how stiff of a shoe they're looking for, what comfort level looking for. A few other things we did with the shoe is we made the toe box a little wider, and that's basically to help people kind of spread the floor and to try to really grab a hold of the floor and get some torque through their hips.
Yeah.
Kelly Starrett is someone who talks a lot about torsion and torque.
Torque is like the #1 word.
Yeah, it's torsion. I'm like, dude, you fucking made that up. He's like, no, it's a medical term. I'm like, fuck you. You made that shit up.
That's a lie.
Lying motherfucker. But yeah, so what we're trying to do a lot of times, in powerlifting is trying to kind of set our feet straight, and then we're trying to just kind of turn the floor out a little bit. And what that's going to do is help turn on your hips, help turn on your glutes, your hamstrings, get everything that you need involved into the lift. And this shoe in particular is flat, and it allows you to really grip the floor real hard. And so you're kind of building up that torque all the way from your toes, all the way through to your knee, all the way through to your hip, all the way up to your face.
Through your face, man. So we make that seriously. There's an internet right now meme of you where it says, I think it says "fuck your CNS" and it's your face and it's just like red after doing a
It's just
squat.
a big, giant, red, fat face.
It is the fattest and best of faces. So Mark, let's bring it in, team. This has been the
We should
third.
do a caption contest with one of my old photos. I have a good one. I can send it to you.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. You have I saw the thing you had on Instagram where you started doing like you're giving away stuff where it's like who won this, name this, and whatnot. I think that's a cool idea.
Well, we should do it. Let's do a cross promotion. We'll have you throw up a old fat face picture, and I'll send out a slingshot or something like that.
100%, man. So,
There we
Mark,
go. Shake
Mark,
on it.
you got it. Internet shake. So, start of a beautiful relationship, Mark. Wrap this up, man. Where can people find you? In closing, what do you want to say about powerlifting? We were promised maybe a wrap, no pressure, it's all good. But close it out with Mark Bell, the man, the myth, the legend, the powerlifter, the creator of the slingshot. Super
Well,
done.
Omar, I think things are getting really romantic between
Oh,
us.
the
I wonder
bottle.
if you share this bottle of wine with me. Glub, 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 glub. There we go. Yeah, in closing, you can check out the Slingshot products at howmuchbench.net.
Yeah.
A lot of my information's on supertraining.tv. You can go there, and you got a lot of videos with infotainment, as I call it,
Yeah.
information, entertainment combination. We got a lot of voiceovers done over top of the lifting that we do. You're going to see a lot of lifters other than just myself lifting on there. We also have Mark Bell's Powercast, which you were recently on, which I
Yes.
thought that was a awesome show. I think a
Thank
lot of people are going to really like that. So that'll be coming out probably in about a week or so. You can look for that. I will also be at the Arnold Classic. I believe the booth is 1407 or something like that, but
How jacked
I'll be
and
posting.
how jacked and tanned are you going to be at the Arnold, just so people can mentally prepare?
I'm going to be very jacked, and I'm going to be super tan.
Good.
I'm going
Okay.
to be orange.
That is the ultimate level.
Yeah, look for the guy. Look for the guy with the bloated face and the orange tan. That'll be me.
The biggest Oompa Loompa ever, man.
I got to get Silent Mike over here to shave my back.
I will. Silent Mike.
We got to shave up. I think.
You got to prepare for the Arnold. You're competing against the big boys that step on stage and
I
span.
don't shave. I don't have a lot of hair. Look at that. See, I don't have much.
I don't know what's going on there, Mark.
Oh, man.
Well, Mark, I'm gonna bring it in then. It's been an absolute pleasure having you back on the show. This time the interview has worked. No technical difficulties. I appreciate you coming back, willing to do it again, talking so eloquently and explaining things well. Will you come back to talk more about powerlifting?
I might.
Okay.
Watch
Mark,
gather up a couple questions from your fans, and I'll be glad to come back on and hit that up and do this again.
awesome. Well, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. I will talk to you later, my man.
Peace.